So the fallout from Tucker Carlson's podcast with that nun with the beard, the mustache. And by the way, that is very much a real mustache going on. So that is concerning. Why in the world has a nun, a woman, got a thicker mustache than what I do? That's relatively embarrassing for me. But anyway, that all being said, she is George Stephanophilos's, can't even pronounce the name, and I don't bloody well care. But anyway, George Stephanophilos's sister. And apparently the fallout has been quite immense. There's been two sides of the story. So you got one side, obviously, the ones that think that the nun is crazy, especially the fact that the things that she was spouting are all lies. She's got no idea about what's going on in Gaza, believe it or not. No idea about any of the Israeli Christians over in Israel at the moment. She's got no idea about that. She seems to think that Christians are being persecuted in Israel, even though they're the only place in the Middle East where you can actually really be a Christian. She seems to think that Christians are better treated in Gaza under Hamas than what they are in Israel, which is utterly despicable and absurd. And there is a man that I want to show you that basically counteracts and destroys a lot of the lies that Tucker Carlson's guests was claiming. And the thing is, what Tucker doesn't understand is that interview went to millions of people, and I was seeing loads of comments from people that were actually praising this nun, and that should be very concerning because all the stuff that she was saying was all lies. I mean, talking about how Hamas are actually good people, like that is like utterly insane to me. But anyway, so Shadi Khalloul joined Dana Lash and her show recently, and he's been slamming Tucker Carlson for spreading complete and utter lies. There's been a number of people that have been reaching out and saying, well, you should be having this person on your show. They're going to be speaking the truth. But we know that Tucker Carlson's not interested in the truth. Because if he really was interested in the truth, he wouldn't be shutting me up and then trying to silence me first and foremost, and trying to demonetize my videos, copyright striking it, and all that. And then also, he would actually have real people on the show that know what they're talking about, but they're all anti-Israel. I don't know if you've noticed that. Every single last one of them have been all anti-Israel. Agenda? Yeah, it would seem that way, right? So anyway, have a watch of this like 8-minute long clip. It's the whole mini segment. I mean, it goes longer than 8 minutes, but just want to show you this 8-minute long section. It's quite powerful. Have a watch.
So as you guys remember, we talked about this a couple of days ago when this interview came out. I was really shocked by this interview. I was shocked by the claims that this person was making. And I went into her history, her background. It's George Stephanopoulos' sister. I talked about the previous stunts that she pulled a couple of decades ago and the false accusations that she had made at that point. People can go and look at the podcast, listen to that if they want to check it out. It shocked me. We talked about all of that. And we're going to expand on this conversation. Welcome back to the program. Dana Lash with you. You can listen all around the country terrestrially. You can watch Channel 347 Direct TV. We're at X, Rumble, everywhere else. I also saw this post on X. The post read, Tucker, I am an indigenous Christian living in Israel. The woman you interviewed is not. I cannot believe how many lies just came out of her mouth. Many people have asked you to interview me, yet you've ignored me. Is truth important to you? Let's talk. And so I went and I looked this gentleman up because I thought, whoa, that's a pretty, because there are a lot of Christians that live in this area in the Middle East and you really don't ever hear from them. And it was just stunning. I wanted to bring on our guest, Shadi Khalloul, who is the president and founder of the Israeli Christian Aramaic Association, NGO of the Aramaic Galilee Center. And he lives in the Middle East, and he spends his time educating people on the truths of this area as someone who lives it, as someone who has firsthand experience. And Shadi joins us now on video. Shadi, it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for giving us some of your time today. I got to get your initial reaction when you saw this interview. What was your first response? What did you think when you started hearing some of the things that guest was saying?
Thank you, Dana, first of all, for inviting me and allowing me to actually expose the truth and the cause of the true Christians, indigenous people in this land. What is the true cause? How they are persecuted. I am a Christian, indigenous, the first followers of Jesus in this land. We speak Aramaic language. We still speak the language and teach the language to our children, to pray in it in the church, to keep the culture of Jesus that he in the same language was speaking. And some people, like, I don't know, this nun that I never heard of before, came in spreading lies in our name, in our behalf, and now the world start believing that this is the truth of the Christians and how they live in Israel or under Jewish majority and democracy, the only democracy in this region that allowing us to thrive in the Galilee and in Nazareth and in Haifa and in any other cities in Israel, while the 40,000 Christians that live in West Bank that sadly, as brothers and sisters, they insisted to be under Arafat, came from Tunisia and actually controlled by Arafat and being oppressed by Arafat and PLO. And that's the main reason that they are actually migrating from Bethlehem and from Ramallah and from other Christian towns in that region because of Islamic Sharia law oppression that adopted by the Palestinian Authority. So I cannot accept those lies anymore as a Christians, because this is hurting us as a Christians living under Jewish control, and we are the majority in this region. And if a Christian want to migrate from within Israel, living under Arab mixed towns, guess where he migrate? He migrate to a majority cities that are Jewish majority and not Arab majority. Why is that? You guess what? Because we enjoy freedom under Jewish majority cities and not under Arab majority cities.
There's a reason why Christians have fled Arab states. I mean, that's very true. Shadi, one of the implications from this nun, Maria Stephanopoulos, in this interview was that the Christian population in Israel is shrinking. But that's not true, is it?
The Christian population in Israel, it was 50,000 people when Israel existed or was established in 1948. Today, the Christian population count 180,000 Christians. Let me give you a different numbers in Syria and Lebanon. In Lebanon, there are 1 million Maronite Christians like me. I am a Maronite Christian. I come from Syriac, Aramaic, Phoenician background. We are the indigenous people of this land. Guess where are most of the Maronites today? Most of them live in diaspora, 8 million in diaspora, in USA, in South America, in Europe, while only 1 million live still in Lebanon. In Syria, we have 2.5 million Christians before. Guess how much we have left today? 500,000. In Iraq, we had 1.5 million Christians. Guess today is 150,000 Christians. Under Palestinian Authority, when Israel controlled the Judea and Samaria, historical Jewish lands, by the way, where all the Bible stories were taking place as Judea of Bethlehem or Bethlehem of Judea, not Bethlehem of Palestine, it is called in the Bible, in our Bible that we believe in. The Christians were majority under Israel control. Under Palestinian Authority, since Oslo Agreement, this cursed Oslo Agreement, when Bethlehem handed to Palestinian Authority instead of to Jewish Israel, the Christians migrated and become a minority of 10% from 90%. Not because of Israel, because of Palestinian Islamic oppression. And I have so many examples I can give you. So many people calling me, telling me they're actually the problems and persecution and humiliation, their daughters, forcing them to sell their lands, to sell their stores, and they don't do it. And once they don't do it, they threaten them to kill them, and many of them migrate to USA, to Canada, to Australia, and to other parts of Europe. That's the truth, not because of Israel. I wish Israel will go back and take control of Bethlehem. because then the Christians, you will see them speaking the truth. Now, all those Christians are paid by Qatari Islamic Brotherhood movements in order to spread lies, part of the cause of Islam against Jewish-only state in this region. Exactly the same they did for the Maronite Christian and majority of Christians Lebanon before, during the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and until they controlled and changed the system and make the system controlled by Islamic, how we call it, Sunnis before, and now Shia Iranian axis.
I think, Shadi, the point that you made just then, too, about the Qatari involvement and the financing is incredibly important, because it really does seem in the past 5 to 10 years, there has been this effort to promote a false story about Christians in Israel and Christians just in the region, and really essentially almost seeming like they're defending Hamas and acting as though Hamas and the PLO were somehow better friends of Christians than Israeli leadership. And I mean, you live there, you see this, and you know that to be not true.
Occupation and Islamic rule, Christian numbers have decreased enormously. Gee, why is that? Could it be that in the Quran it says that Christians and Jews must be killed? Could that be the reason? Especially under the Islamic, the Islamic nations, they don't really care about anyone else aside from Muslims. So only in Israel, the only democracy in the Middle East, can you really thrive as a Christian, as this man was saying. And then also he hopes that Israel would take over all the Islamic countries so that you can have some peace, so that you can have Christianity thriving once again in those regions. Christianity in Israel is it's only able to thrive in Israel. And this nun is probably being paid off, as it would seem, to spread lies about what's going on to Christians in Israel and how Christians in Gaza are being treated better. That is honestly absurd to me, that Christians in Gaza would be treated better under Islamic terrorist rule than what they would be in Israel under a democracy. Under Judaism. By the way, Jesus was a Jew. So you cannot tell me that Islam is better than Judaism. That Islam actually wants peace. And this man was revealing the truth. Doesn't know who this individual is, but got millions of views. And obviously Christians that know the truth are outraged that someone that calls himself a Christian spread lies, spread hate, and had no pushback whatsoever. So it's either he's got a clear agenda, doesn't want the truth being seen by anyone, and if you do end up hearing the truth, he gets upset at it and demonetizes your videos and the copyright, or aside from that, he will claim that you're just being hateful. And all the other minions as well will always claim that you're just being hateful. That's all it comes down to, you being hateful. You don't know what you're talking about. But Tucker knows exactly what he's doing. It's abundantly clear now. He's got an agenda. Qatari money, by the looks of things. Yeah, let's have a nun on that's got no idea what the hell she's on about, and damage the reputation of Christians in Israel. All in the name of what? To prop up Islam. To say that Hamas is actually resistance. Just trying to protect their people. In their charter, well, it says we need to wipe out Israel. What does that tell you? We need to do more jihad, man. So Tucker is a coward. He's a lying, sniveling coward. And I'm glad that more Christians are starting to call him out. Anyway, that's enough from me, but you guys take care, be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.